Today's video is brought to you by SimpliSafe. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Junkyard Digs. Today you join myself, Angus, and the infamous C10 in the front yard. Since you've last seen it, I've blown the rear axle up, and it hasn't been touched in months, and we have a mere 5 days to make it drive a couple thousand miles. Let's get to work because there's a lot to be done. Angus, how are you today?
I'm doing swell. Why is the only time we ever work on this thing when it's hot and humid?
This is our 1979 Chevy Cheyenne C10 diesel that we bought in Minnesota that was abandoned, sitting in the woods for a number of years. We ripped the 350 diesel out, ripped an engine out of a different car that was sitting up there, and then stuffed that 455 in place of the 350 diesel and drove this all the way to northern Minnesota and back. Post original C10 trip, I drove this around for a couple weeks, used it to haul a bunch of stuff, and then had a little incident with the rear axle. The continuation of the chronicles of we blowed it up.
Oh my God, you're...
What?
Hang on 2 seconds, you gotta come look at this.
Hang on, I'm coming.
Oh my...
I only have one shoe, the other one's holding the truck.
You gotta look at this.
Is she kabloated?
I can't even lie about this one. Oh my God, my hot dog! What are you doing, little buddy? Look at it. Can you grab it? Will it come out? Grab my hot dog, Phoenix. It's just laying there unlovingly.
I can't get it out.
Grab and jerk. Oh, it really is stuck. Wow.
Good truck. Good times. Okay, see you next time. So yeah, that needs fixed.
Easy.
Oops. Well, to get started in any of this, we need to get to the shop. You think what I'm thinking?
Well, you certainly can't drive it, and I think we have a piece of equipment that will...
I think we do. Tow truck. Bueno?
Bueno enough for who it's for.
You can say that again.
Bueno enough for who it's for.
With the C10 strapped up, we headed to town, pushed it into the shop, lifted it up on our bend pack lift, and got to work. I guess I don't know about you, but I am not one much for math. But it doesn't take much math to determine that this seems to have an issue.
What did you do?
I tried to do a burnout. The brake proportion valve gave us troubles when we did the revival on this truck.
Yes, we did.
Well, the brakes, as I drove it, started getting really touchy. So I think the rear's built up pressure or something, I don't know. So I tried to like lightly let off the brake and do a burnout, and we just went. I was like, oh, I think I can do better. Hang on. I lightly let off the brake and did a burnout, and it went. I was like, we should stop and drive away. At which point we drove away. Then about 800 feet later, we stopped going up this hill and started going back down this hill. Well, let's tear into it and see what we find.
Not a lot of fluid. Interesting. Oh, those are pieces of spider gears. Oh, excuse you. Well, there's our center pin and what's left of a spider. Wow. Why does it have an angle at the top? Huh. That's not good. Yikes. Okay. Well, we've got a shattered spider gear at least. This washer's destroyed somehow. There's pieces of our spider gear. Oh, God. Let's see. Okay. Shouldn't be able to pull the side gear out. That's got a bunch of chunks taken out of it. That's ruined. This is pretty bad. So, spider gear from the driver's side axle gone. C-clip came out. Our center pin, which would run our two idler spider gears, top and bottom, is broken into many pieces, I think. So this is most of it here with one of the top gear. No, that's the bottom gear. Oh, so this must have come out of the cover like that. The center pin locates right here with this bolt. That's still present, so the bolt didn't come out. There's pieces missing out of the ring gear. So that's trashed, and so is our pinion gear. So this whole carrier needs to come out. Check on our pinion bearings here since we've seen what happened to the inside, and boy, that doesn't feel good. That yoke should not be able to twist as much as it is. It's not a lot. Any is more than it should.
I guess I got good news.
What's the good news?
I've called our good buddies up at Quick Performance. They have everything in stock for this. We're going to stick with the 308 ratio because the next one up is 342, I believe, and that's, I did math. It's singing 2,800 RPM.
Oh, with a big block Oldsmobile that would not love that.
No, so we're going to stay 308. It was an excellent cruising gear. This is a cruising driving truck. We are, however, upgrading to a posi rear end because they have that and everything else to include all new bearings in stock.
That's incredible.
So we can go pick that up.
For a 12-bolt Chevy rear end, don't they do like mainly forward 9 inches?
They do all their custom 9 inches is their big thing.
Okay.
But they actually supply parts for basically every rear axle and a lot of front axles for 4-wheel drive stuff on Jeeps and trucks too. So
dang, cool.
Let's go on a little road trip.
Sweet.
All right. Yes, very nice. This is Angus's favorite reason for coming to Quick Performance.
I can play with the stuff on this shelf.
He gets to play with the displays. Bingo. Shut up.
We're good.
Thank you much.
Yes, sir.
Got all the goods?
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. Brand new gears, bearings, every single little piece down to the oil. Once again, Quick Performance for all your rear end needs. There is no one like them. These guys whoop ass. Let's go get her fixed. Now that we knew for sure that we had all the parts to fix the rear end, we decided to pump the brakes a little bit. While I finished up editing last week's video, Angus replaced our bad proportioning valve from the original Revival, and then spent the rest of the day pressure washing the underside of the truck.
I'm very soggy.
I see that, holy hell.
I don't think I could be wetter if I peed my pants. But the truck underside is really not as dirty as it was.
There's still paint up there.
Yep. It's unfortunate that in 1 or 2 spots, the bed supports filled up with sand.
Did they?
And rusted through.
That's like right here?
Like right there. That's probably the worst one of all of them.
Hey, if that's the worst rust on the truck, I will take it. Yep, the old underside pressure washer is an absolute terrible job that takes like 2 hours for a really thorough one. But look at the amount of dirt he pulled out of the well-known rust areas on this truck. That was all in like the rockers and the pinch welds and grooves and pockets that these square bodies have. You definitely saved this square body from looking like all the rest. Now we'll let it all dry really thoroughly and undercoat the whole thing with some paint. It'll last another 15 years longer. Woo! Little fumey in here. Been a couple hours. As you can see, the entire underside of the truck has been coated with Rust-Oleum Rust Stopper Primer. Except for apparently right there and right there. I missed 2 spots. Now I can come through with a flat black and hit the whole underside once more, so it's like double or triple coated in the spots that were rust, because I put a rust reformer on and then the primer and now the paint. It's going to slow all that rust way the hell down, and this truck's going to last a long time and be well protected. Once the primer had dried, I cranked up the radio, turned on the fans, and spent the rest of the evening sealing the underside of the C10. Alrighty, another day here with the C10. How are you today, Angus?
I'm doing well.
That is excellent. As you can tell, yesterday Angus and I spent the whole afternoon triple checking all the spots, painting the underside of this truck, and now everything is totally coated with paint and is going to be nice and protected. With that said, it's time to move on to the wrenching stuff. Today is the 5th?
Yep.
Oh god, we have 3 days to finish this truck and all we've done is paint it.
Oh man, we have 3 whole days? That's so much time.
Now step 1 with our rear end here is disassembly, but before we do that, we're going to take a file and mark the top of each of these caps. We're going to mark them different. This one I've got, it's been painted over a little bit, but I can still see it. I've got 2 hash marks and 2 hash marks. And this one I have 1 hash mark and 1 hash mark. That tells me the top and which side that cap is on. That is very important. Also, when you're disassembling this, there's going to be a set of shims here and a set of shims here. You pay attention which ones are on the left and the right, as well as the shims that are on the back of the pinion. That might not make sense right now, but as we get into this, you will see.
Right, there's our right cap. Come on, you. And there's our left bearing cap.
Whoa!
Ooh,
That bearing race is broken in half.
that's an issue. Gravity! Alright, our carrier is now out.
Look at that.
Whoa. That's not right.
Chevy just threw these big old shims in there and called it a day.
I guess.
Like, look at, there's the biggest piece of the other spider gear. It's stuck up in the housing hole. Now we've got a little damage to the housing.
Nothing that we're going to do anything about.
That pinion gear's smoked. Now that Angus has that out, he's going to remove the drive shaft and loosen that guy from the other side and pop him out and then clean everything up. Okay, so there's no preload on that. I pulled the pinion off and the thing shot out on its own.
It was ejecting
I
itself.
pulled the yoke off, I should say.
Okay, there's our crushed sleeve. Our bearing looks not bad.
All right, let's get her all stripped down and cleaned out. Knock our old braces out. There we go. And then for good measure, we're also gonna do our outer bearings, which we got a tool from O'Reilly's to do that. All right, stick our O'Reilly's bearing puller in there. Tighten up the nut. And give her some wax. I didn't have it right. Try it again. We're not professionals by any means. We just play mechanics on TV. There we go. All right, we're all stripped down. It's time to clean it. We've been flushing this out with brake clean and whatnot. We're noticing, however, that the grease stuck in the axle tubes looked pretty shiny, so we took a rag
And a broomstick.
soaked it in gasoline and ran it down a tube. And that is what came out. So we're gonna do that a few times. Wow, I would have never thought that that much metal had been in the ends for driving like a couple 100 feet.
I think this thing was falling apart for a while.
It may have been. All right, we're all cleaned up. We got all the metal flushed out of the tubes and everything. Step one is going to be install some new races. Probably would have been not the worst idea in the world to put these in the fridge, but you know, foresight always being hindsight for us, we didn't do that. I forgot. Calling that good. Now for our front bearing race. Now the first measurement we're going to have to make correct is our pinion depth. That is how far the pinion sticks into the pumpkin, or housing, if you will. Now we're going to do this by changing shims between the pinion and the bearing, and that will adjust it, because this sits in the race, it'll adjust how far this sits into the housing. And as you can see, I'm holding this old one for a reason, because this is supposed to be pressed on, and you should not be able to do that. But it's quite interesting that I can. I wanted to get a look at what shims we had in here, and from the looks of it, none. This is all that's left. Now what you're going to want to do here is take either your old bearing, if it's in good shape, and take a carbide bit or something and hollow out the inside and make it a little larger so that it does slip on like this conveniently. Or if you're buying from Quick Performance, I believe they can send you a test fit bearing that just slips on. The reason that's important is because since this is a press fit and since you need to be changing these a bunch, you're going to be taking this on and off a few times to get that right, and then you don't want to have to press it on, press it off, press it on, press it off a whole bunch of times because it's annoying. So at this point we're going to take our 30 thousandths worth of shims that came in our kit, drop our install bearing on, our temporary bearing, put him in the housing, and then put the other bearing on as well, and then take a measurement. Seeing that I'd never done this before, I wanted to make sure we got this right, so I hopped on Amazon and bought this way overpriced tool that was supposed to help me find my pinion depth. However, just like Quick Performance warned from the very beginning, it did not work. This thing was poorly made, way overpriced, and completely unnecessary. Our ideal depth is going to be 2.747 inches. So we're going to subtract this from this, and we get 2.686 is our actual depth right now. So now we need to make this number match this number, which means we need to go less shims, right?
Yeah. 61. That's a lot.
We can only take out 30. Alright, well, called Quick Performance, talked to Biden, told him what's going on. He said, I told you not to buy that thing. They never work. They're a big, expensive gimmick. And I said, yeah, I know. And now I have to see if Amazon will take a $500 tool back. Anyway, we're going to do it the way they told us to do it from the very beginning. We're going to take this. This is a Yukon Duragrip Posi Traction unit. This is going to get both them tires spinning. So next time we break it, we break everything. Which actually, this should all be fine now, so we'll probably snap axles. Actually, we'll probably just do a burnout fantastically. We're also going to take this, which is our ring gear. We're going to bolt these together. We're going to set up our bearings and everything and install this into the axle as if it was, you know, installed in the axle, and base our pinion depth off of the wear pattern. Let's do it like we were told to from the beginning. For free. It didn't cost a dime to do it this way.
Oh, yes. Usually you throw the ring gear in an oven, you throw the carrier in a freezer.
Which we have specifically neither of.
Oh, there is a pizzazz in the office. We can microwave it. All right, time to the quick performance again. They said, no, you don't need to put it in the pizzazz pizza oven. You can get some rags on some blocks, set the ring gear on that, and use your hydraulic press to start pushing it into place. They also said blow some air in between these right before they meet to get all the dirt out in between the ring gear and your carrier.
Okay, well they're together now.
Yep, okay, well, I hope all the dirt was out. Alright, we're going to use the red thread locker that comes in the kit. We're going to put all these into the ring gear and torque them down to 55 foot-pounds. With everything bolted together, we threw our stock shims back in and started measuring backlash and wear patterns. Now again, being that this was our first time ever doing this took most of the day. Many trials and tribulations later, there we go. We have a pattern that looks good. All we have to do now is take it all the way apart once again and put the permanent bearings in that we need to press onto the shaft and the crush washer, crush sleeve, and all that stuff. Now that it's set up, we got to take it apart and put it together and hope we get that right the first try. This wasn't like truly terrible. It just took a lot longer than we anticipated. In hindsight, we should have just put a 9-inch in it. We could have called quick performance and been like, done, and just bolted it in. It wasn't terrible. It just took a lot longer than I was anticipating. And I probably made way too big of a deal out of it. Once we had all the shims figured out, we pressed the real bearing onto the pinion and assembled the rear end for good. We've got 13 to 15 inch-pounds of rotational drag on our pinion, which means our our bearing preload is correct. Our pattern looks good, which means our depth is correct, and we've got just enough backlash. I really miss Ford third members where you can just buy this and just bolt it on in like 8 minutes instead of spending 9 hours trying to get this right.
But now we know that we did it ourselves.
Great. This is exactly what I want before a 2,000-mile trip. With everything inside the axle looking good, I wrapped up the evening by hammering the old cover flat and then welding it back together in a sort of artistic fashion. Alright, there it is. What do you think of my creation?
Well, I've seen worse things.
I've made worse things. Kind of wanted to show that she still has some battle scars, so we welded up the old cover and welded the shit out of it on the inside. Emphasis on the shit part. That way it doesn't leak.
It'll make a good conversation piece
It
while we're on the side of the road.
Yeah. Alright, see you in the morning.
Good morning, everybody. It is the morning of June 6th. It's a Thursday. We leave in 2 days. I am going to get started working on the truck this morning. I'm going to start by cleaning out the interior because it stinks. It stinks pretty good.
To combat the stink, Angus set straight to work ripping out the interior of the truck and vacuuming up as many mouse nests as he could find. Somewhere around noon, he had to take a break because the glass company showed up to drop a new windshield into the C10. Finally, for the first time ever, I had a broken windshield replaced. Look at me, Mr. Safety over here. Alright, our rear axle is done, all filled up, sealed, 100% ready to go. Angus is working on the interior, pulling our headliner down, pulling the dash apart. Tons of mouse nest back in there, real icky dirty. The guys from Scott's Auto Glass in Des Moines came and installed a brand new windshield. And most importantly, we finally have some parts that have started showing up. So that being said, it's time to get into the meat and potatoes of this build. Angus is gonna work on the interior. I'm gonna work on the stuff underneath the hood. Let's get to it. First things first, we're gonna get this grill out of here because we are going to be fixing the air conditioning on this truck. In fact, we're going to be upgrading it to run really well with R134. Now, this is something I want to get more in-depth on someday in the future, where we do a whole video about fixing all the different systems and styles of air conditioning and upgrading them to perform well on today's refrigerants. That way they are more serviceable and hopefully perform better than they ever did back in the day. Now, the reason I'm in here is because of this guy right here. This is our AC condenser. This is a cross-flow condenser. I'll show you when I get it out. Basically, it comes in one tube. That tube goes back and forth 1,000 times and then it leaves. What we're going to be doing is installing a new parallel flow condenser that acts like a radiator. All the gas builds up in a tube over here, moves across a bunch of channels, and leaves all at once over here. They're much more efficient, they flow a lot better, and they're going to perform a lot better with R134. Bend it down and pull it out. Yes. That seems to be the answer. Alright, that sucked, I'm not gonna lie. This is our old condenser. As you can see, we have a tube that comes in and then goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. a whole bunch of times. It's all the same tube. And then it goes out. These work pretty okay for our 12, but they're not very efficient. Now this is a parallel flow condenser. The evaporated refrigerant comes in, one hose flows all the way across, I'm assuming down, and all the way across again, at which point it is condensed back into a liquid and fed back to the AC pump. You can get these for a surprising number of vehicles from Rock Auto. This was $100 straight off the website. It's going to perform much better with 134. Alright, well that took a little finagling, I'm not gonna lie. I had to bend the hell out of this and bend the hell out of this, but as far as the mounting points, it does actually bolt straight into the truck. If you guys want to do this yourself, I'll put this exact part number for this particular condenser from Rock Auto on the screen now. Either way, that's in there, so let's get the grill back on and move further down the AC system. Alrighty, now that our new AC condenser's in place, it's time to start on prepping this thing for power tour in terms of cooling. If you guys saw the truck with this episode last fall, you already know that I have this nice Chevy original GM 4-core truck radiator in here, so that is more than enough to keep this engine cool. But there's a few other things we want to do to it to make sure the rest of the cooling system can keep up with this guy. That being, I always throw a 160 thermostat in the cars we take on power tour. I put on a new clutch fan if necessary. Beyond that, we're going to put on new radiator hoses, and most importantly, we're going to put a shroud on the radiator. That's going to allow our fan to pull from the entire expanse of the surfaced area that the radiator has for cooling and allow this sucker to run as cool as possible. Driving down the highway is one thing, but driving down the highway and coming to a traffic jam of 200 cars for an hour and a half when it's 95 degrees out or 105, that's a different thing. And that's what power tour is. So yeah, do everything you can to make sure your cooling system is up to snuff. Now I did say I'm going to run this 4-core GM radiator because it's huge, but usually I just hop on eBay and get a 3-core aluminum, and they do fantastic as well. The Champion ones, the cheap ones, really nothing wrong with those. I've never had one fail me yet in all these years. Beyond that, one thing we're going to want to do to fight vapor lock in these high heat conditions is get some kind of thermal barrier under your carburetor, like that big factory gasket's pretty good to have. Otherwise, like a nice 1-inch wood or plastic spacer under there, aluminum spacer is great to have, keep the heat off the carburetor. And if possible, run a return line off of your fuel pump back to the tank. If you have a GM, you're fortunate. Most of them came with it. If not, you can get a 3-line pump for any GM motor and just run one more extra 1/4-inch rubber line all the way back and you're good to go. Angus, how are things in here?
I have a gun.
Got her all down to steel, and oh my god, that steel looks good. Dude, this thing is so solid. Holy hell.
This thing's cleaner than it has any right to be.
A Minnesota truck.
Keeping an eye on our fire hazard over there.
Yeah. Phoenix brought us some fan shrouds, so yeah, we also learned from the truck Phoenix drove that has the correct fan shroud that none of those are right, nor is the one I ordered. No one even makes the one that we need.
I know big box and small box had different ones. They clearly switched from 70s to 80s because corp support and everything has changed.
What year is the truck you drove here?
It's a 78.
Okay, yeah, those are all 80s. That'll work.
Keep her cool.
Yeah, one of the ones we got from Todd here actually fits. Kind of. Well, I mean kind of. But it'll work. It's better than nothing. How's the engagement? Actually about spot on. Yeah, we'll take that at half the blade. In other news, we have more parts that have arrived. This shipment is from AMD. These are the guys that make excellent bumpers and brackets and all that good stuff. Great source for some fuel tanks, body panels, and weather stripping, as well as window seals and all sorts of random stuff. And that's what this is.
I don't want to.
What if we give you beer?
You don't have enough beer.
There's some 43 in there. Tom will get them in. They'll just whistle worse than they ever did before.
I might do that on purpose.
Yeah, they sent us everything we're going to need. There's our license plate bracket, all of our bumper brackets, and a brand new bumper for this thing because the one on it is junk, and it is just asking for us to get pulled over. We'll get a new one of these on there, and this thing's going to be looking real nice, sealed up, air conditioning. This is going to be a respectable truck by the time we're done. All right, Tom, what's the process for window sills here? We never talked about this. Wow, that is just
I was
flaking
hopeful
away.
that I could do this without tearing the trim panel off, but as crunchy as this is, I'm going to have to take the trim panel off to dig all the
It's probably full of mouse poop
fossils
anyway.
out of there.
Wow, that's bad.
You're not paying me to suck up any Mouth poo.
That's what we got Angus for.
There you go.
I pay him
All
more
right.
than you. Hams is far less expensive than a salary.
Except I bought the ham.
You're paying me with my own beer.
There we go. Whole channel at once. Holy shit.
Then you can soap it up and kind of feed it down there and just keep rolling the window up and down until you get it all shoved in.
All right, Tom, what's the secret here?
Well, it's not working.
Oh, what would the secret be?
Well, the stuff was slippery enough.
Oh, yeah, DJ-room's not very slippery.
Get some Dawn.
Foamy window cleaner.
Oh, wait,
is
yeah, we
great.
used soap on something, didn't we, doing this once?
Got some sunscreen here. That's, you know.
That's pretty slippery.
That'll take Sharpie off like a son of a bitch.
Did not
I
know
just
that.
learned that.
How do you know
Kevin
that?
just
You want to
taught
see
me
something?
that.
You grab that, I'll grab a Sharpie. I was at the National Boy Scout Jamboree once upon a time and accidentally, putting sunscreen on myself, hit my water bottle and my name disappeared. Here's how confident I am this
Tried
works.
it on other stuff and it works.
Totally dry, right?
Yep.
Spray that sunscreen on there.
Wow, it's alright. I'm impressed.
Yep.
Never
DJ
would've
won't
guessed.
take off Sharpie. Sunscreen will. Now the lift's weird and oily and protected from the sun, but
Is it?
how are you doing, Tom?
Her! How did you learn to do that? Me.
I don't want to be in here anymore.
Well done, team. For the rest of that evening, we decided to utilize the extra help, so we put the camera down and turned some wrenches. Tom finished up all of our interior door seals while Angus cleaned out everything from behind the dash. While that was going on, Phoenix and I removed the old bumper, opened up the brand new shiny one from AMD, and got it bolted in place. I think we're about to call it a night, come back tomorrow, and stick everything back together, and we should be good to go. All right, we'll see you guys in the morning for the last day. Well, just like that, it's noon. Little update here. I've got our compressor installed. He's happy. Got some lines hooked back up. New orifice tube in the bottom of the evaporator. New O-rings on everything. And I'm changing over the blower motor. This is our old one. It is seized solid. This is the new one. This is not a blower motor for a square body Chevy. This is actually for like a 97 1500. The motors in the GMT 400 trucks run a bit faster, but I believe that... Well, supposedly the squirrel cage was a different depth. They say online that you can swap this one in because they run faster than these, but now that I'm looking at these here, this one's supposed to have a bigger squirrel cage to where you got to use this one so it doesn't hit, and damn if they're not identical. So maybe I wound up with just a normal square body one, and that's what O'Reilly sells for the later trucks, which would be underperforming. I don't know, regardless, I suppose it does make it easier to install this. I just bolt it straight in. So yeah, let's get that vacuumed out, get this installed. Alright, update time once again. The air conditioning system is done. I still have to fill everything and charge it and all that, but we have a new accumulator, orifice tube, pump. Had to use the old lines, unfortunately, because the new ones were completely wrong. They were for an actual C10. It'll be over here. I think the diesels were the only ones that had it over here, thus probably making those really hard to get. Meanwhile, inside, Angus has been busy, and it looks like we are about to stick the old headliner back on.
Yep, we got it glued sprayed to about here. We're gonna try and work it back. This whole fiberboard should have come down to replace the headliner, but it just comes apart when we pull on it, and we don't have that much time.
Well, that didn't work.
No.
This looks like shit. You know what it looks like? Those government issue public school dodgeballs we had back in the day. You know, the foam ones with the vinyl.
Not the rubber ones that go boom.
Yeah,
It's the other
like
ones
the
that just
green,
kind of.
yellow, blue, red.
My teachers always called them gator skins.
It looks like one of those balls when you squeeze it.
Well-
We should just thumbtacked it. Now we know.
Is it fixed?
No, but it's different.
It is different. All right.
We should probably at some point see if this thing still even runs.
Hardly seems relevant.
Yeah, nah, there's no need. You're right. Oh yeah. Go for it. Good. There we go. Hell yeah. Happy as ever. How's the pressure?
Anywhere between 40 and 55.
Hell yeah. Oh, yeah. The quietest engine ever. Alright, she's a runner.
Ready to go?
Ready to go, yeah, totally. I know that carburetor is going to give us troubles because it's got a slightly worn out throttle shaft seal. It's the best one we could find when we were in Minnesota, and I have a new reman for it. Here it is, Angus, the device that will deliver us to victory.
The carburetor.
The carburetor. Got ourselves a brand new reman from Summit. We picked this up when we were in Texas with a 442. This is like
that.
$100 or something. Let's get that bolted on. All right, there we go. New Quadrajet is on. Let's see if it starts better than the old one. I would say that runs fantastic. That's done. Time now for the distributor. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with points. We could probably drive these on the entirety of Power Tour just fine. But security is something to keep in mind on Power Tour. And usually on these what we'll do is we'll unplug our coil wire and swap it for one of the plug wires and hook it all back up so you can't quite tell that it's different. That way, even if they hotwire the car, this isn't going to run. And it's really fun because it confuses you every morning why your car won't start. Now the problem here is someone can simply undo that and boom, they can hotwire your car in about 12 seconds and it's their car. Now what you can do to prevent that is take this into the hotel with you, but all they have to do once again is bring one of these and it's their car. However, I do have a solution for this. Two things actually. One, GPS tracker. Get like a spot or something like that, get a subscription, hide it somewhere in the vehicle, package tray, something like that. Solution two, progression ignition. This right here is a progression ignition distributor. I've been running one of these on the Le Mans for years, and I absolutely love it. Not only is this the most advanced distributor I've ever seen, but it's also one of the best. This is a small company out of California. These things are fantastically built. They have better HEI modules than anything GM ever made. By that I mean that the spark control is better than any HEI or other brand module, and they are tested to an unnecessarily high RPM with absolutely no fluctuation in spark. No cutting up, no popping, nothing. These are fantastic. But that's not what's unique about these. What's unique about these is what's on the inside. That right there is a circuit board, and in that circuit board is all the electronic control you will ever need for adjustment on your distributor, which can all be done through your cell phone. These things are super powerful, very reliable, and honestly not much more than a regular MSD or Petronics ignition. There's no mechanical advanced components inside to fail. They have a rev limiter. They have all sorts of incredible technology jammed inside this, as well as an ignition lock. All I have to do is hit lock on my phone and turn the key off, and no matter how much someone tries, that car will never start again until my phone, which is paired with a special pin to this distributor, comes back, reconnects as soon as the key comes on, and hits unlock. Then it will produce spark again, and that is badass for Power Tour. So yeah, huge thanks to Ted at Progression Ignition for sending this out. Let's get this sucker in the truck. I'm excited to show you guys this thing. It is so cool. With that, I took a couple minutes and dropped the Progression Ignition distributor into the engine block. In the meantime, while I was doing this in the carburetor, Angus finished the interior and moved on to installing our new tonneau cover so that everything in the back of the truck would stay dry. Alright, our distributor is all hooked up, ready to go. I'm going to leave this here so you guys can see some numbers. One thing I didn't even mention is the fact that you get a tach, vacuum gauge, and speedometer all from your distributor. There we go. 10 degrees. I don't know how long, it's 600 RPM. That's all our vacuum and everything. Alright, now that I've got that set, and she's sitting there idling happy, I'm going to generate a table. Got an 8-cylinder. I want my idle to be, let's say 850 is a good number. My idle timing, 16 degrees, pretty good. My max timing, let's go for 35 for now. I want all the timing in by, yeah, 3 grand, that's pretty good. You can switch it up with aggressive, give it a more aggressive curve. Here's your vacuum advance. When you start moving vacuum, your rev limiter, all that stuff. So just for now, I'm going to generate that table. Save that. Save. Hear that? Here's the motor change. And with that little dot, that's where our timing is. Whoa. So when I rev that, truck runs instantly happier. Now we're pulling 18 inches of mercury, idling at 750. She's much more comfortable. So that's awesome. And then, as stated before, I can do this. I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to turn the key back on so that this reconnects, that's connected. I'm going to hit lock, and I'm going to turn the ignition off. If I wanted to, I could leave the keys in the truck. Someone come up and crank and crank and crank. It'll never start. As soon as I go unlock, truck runs. How damn cool is that? And much like fuel injection, if I want to change any point or any area of this table, I can go ahead and add or remove timing in this map. And I can do all of that driving down the road without ever opening the hood. Progression ignition. This is one of the coolest damn things I've ever seen made for cars and smartphones. Not at all what we were planning on doing this morning. This, however, is. All right, it's the final morning. We are leaving today. I gotta charge the AC, give this thing a bath. If we have time, do shocks. Angus has to work on his F100. I don't even know if he's touched it yet. And beyond all that, I found some fans of ours stranded at O'Reilly's this morning, and I couldn't bring myself to leave them there. They had a bad fuel pump, and I know we can get them fixed and get them going on their way. They're going all the way from Missouri to Minnesota, so we're really tight on time, but I can take a bit to help those guys get back on the road. Hell, they watch the channel. It's the least I can do. Had the vacuum pump running for a bit here. Should be all sucked down. Let's fire this sucker up and charge it, and pray to God I got the oil levels right. It took a little bit since I was fighting some wiring issues, but eventually I got 3 pounds of Freon into the system and everything was blowing cold. Ooh, it is nipply in here. What are we at? 40, just over 40 degrees, 43. Yeah, I'll take that. This is amazing. All right, let's go break in the rear end. Oh, thank God it still drives. We got nice cold AC, plenty of oil pressure. You'll love to see it, especially since we've done like 100 feet. All right, much like everything else that is material on material contact, there is a break-in procedure for the rear end. We are going to drive 4 or 5 miles, and then we're going to let the rear end cool for an hour, and then we're going to drive 4 and 5 miles, and we're going to let the rear end cool for an hour. We're going to do that like 3 or 4 times, and then we will proceed to do like 100 and let it cool for an hour or so. The idea is to bring the gears up to temp and then let them cool so they don't get too hot while everything is wearing in and clearancing and doing all that stuff. And we do have a friction modifier in there for the posi, which reminds me I also need to go to a parking lot at some point and do big figure 8s. That way the clutches in the posi get worked and get lube in between them. So I should probably start with that. All right, let's keep her moving. Running good. Running better than ever, honestly. And it's nice and quiet in here for once. Fuel gauge is working, speedometer's working, it's nice and steady now. Angus oiled that. It doesn't stink in here. He did a really good job in this interior. It's been an absolute thrash to get this truck to this point, but I think she's ready for power tour. Thank God. Let's go give her a bath, pack, and hit the road. With that, I drove the C10 back to the shop just in time for Bob to show up.
Wait, are you that bolt grip Digs guy?
Yep, nope, alright, Angus, get in the car, we're leaving without Bob. With the last of our convoy present, we gave the C10 a quick wash before getting ready to hit the road. Unfortunately, however, the truck had different plans. Well, this isn't us on the highway driving down the road right now.
Now, as you can see, there's a planned drain hole right there. There's a non-planned drain hole right there.
God.
Here, let me just wipe that down for you.
It just keeps coming out.
It keeps dripping.
Yeah, we were about to leave when all of a sudden a little oil leak popped up, leaving some puddles around, and the boys have deciphered that the pan rusted through suddenly and is leaking all over, so we gotta deal with that. Well, you know what I always say, if it'll hold a helicopter together, it'll fix this oil leak on the bottom of our 455 Oldsmobile into C10 that we swapped out in the woods in Zimmerman, Minnesota.
Classic Kevin.
You do say that an awful lot.
I sure do.
And I think to myself, this is oddly specific every time you do it.
We got ourselves a...
Rag glued to a twisted T-can glued to the oil pan.
Yep, I'm calling that a patch. I didn't even mean to perfectly frame the photo that was on the side of the can.
Nathaniel, KJ, John, and Ashley of Salisbury, Maryland.
Well, I hope they're good at holding back oil leaks. Alright, well if that doesn't seal it, I don't know what will.
To show the power of Flex Seal, I rusted this oil pan in half.
And we're gonna drive it 2,000 miles. Yeah. All right, let's go.
Ah, yes, the open road. Finally, after days of work, we're out of here. The odometer reads 40,746 miles. We've got, I don't even want to know how many miles to go to Bowling Green to start Power Tour, but I do know it's like 11 hours, and it's currently 6 o'clock on the dot. So yeah, our goal of leaving at noon didn't go very well, but that's pretty much on par. We've got Angus and Bob in tow. Everyone's got a full tank of gas. We've got everything loaded up. Let's put the hammer down and get to Power Tour. Cross your fingers and hope we're all set, because here we go. And we can't make this shit up if we had to, huh, Mook? We drove home to grab a couple last items and let the rear end cool again, and Bob's master cylinder went out in the driveway. So we drove back to town, and on that drive, our vents are stuck to the floor again, which is blowing all over my leg. And now the alternator's not charging, and the truck just hiccuped once. So we're never gonna get out of here. It's like, what, 6:45? Jesus. Well, the truck just died. So I don't know what that's about. This is the single worst start to a Power Tour we've ever had. Well, let's pop the hood and see what's going on. At least we got stranded by the shop. Still time to clean the 98 and take that, I suppose. I don't know if we have any fuel. No, we lost the fuel pump already, right? It's a brand new pump.
Hope not.
No fuel in the carburetor. Alright, pump, tanker lines. What do you think?
At this point, we were 13 miles into our trip. We broke 2 of the 3 vehicles, and we still hadn't even left the shop yet. After a quick tow back, we dug into the truck and discovered that we did in fact have fuel issues, and it was in the tank.
Ah!
Yep.
Here's what came out. I wonder if it's on the old turpentine on the bottom. It was kind of came up into the fuel now. Alright, well, new fuel tank?
I don't think we have a choice. There's no flushing that.
Yeah, 2,000 miles, that'll never make it.
After a bit of struggling, we were able to drop out the old tank and swap in the new one that we thankfully had left over from the original revival.
There you go, there you go. Whoa, alright, whoa. I'll take some bolts. Alright, Mook, I swear this is really the last step, because I'm not really going to do anymore unless they're detrimental to our health or safety. Fuel gauge works. As you can tell, there's only 5 gallons in it, so let's get her filled up and get the hell out of here in the morning.
Yeah, at noon, right?
Yeah, noon, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, midnight's just the noon of the dark.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Let's see you guys in the morning. And thus it begins, Mook.
Yeah!
It is Sunday morning, and it is time to finally leave for Power Tour. We're a day late, probably $1 short, but hopefully we can pull this off.
Is it noon?
No, it's before noon. Look at, we're ahead of schedule. Look at us go. We'll be there in no time.
Don't say that.
Bowling Green, here we come. Alrighty, here we go, the open road. For once on Power Tour, we have a vehicle that tracks perfectly straight and doesn't shake at all. This thing is dead smooth, and I love it. How's it going, Mook?
It can hear you. It's gonna start shaking.
Nah, it's fine, it's fine. Let's get her going.
With that, we put the hammer down and merged onto the interstate southbound through Iowa.
Alright, made her a little ways down the road. Things are going excellent. Truck's using very little fuel. Temperature and pressure look fantastic. It drives really nice. Like, it's smooth, it rides comfortable, the new shocks help a lot. This is gonna be a fantastic trip. Right, Mook?
Yeah, I just wish that you didn't demand that we take all the ants with us.
Yeah, I don't know where all these ants came from.
We continued down the highway, hoping that the only bugs we were going to run into were the ones on the dash. Things were going great as we passed the junkyard in Pella, Iowa, but then somewhere around Eddyville, without any warning whatsoever, the truck let out a huge backfire and just shut off.
There were 2 loud pops, a bunch of black smoke, and it shut off. The backfire and all the smoke was weird. It almost acted like an ignition issue, but our wire's still in place. Okay. Huh. Okay. Let's check spark and then pray that it didn't like jump time.
Seeing that I'm not a huge fan of working on things next to cars whizzing past at 70 mile an hour, we hooked the tow strap up and drug the truck to the nearest gas station in Eddyville.
I don't
don't think that's supposed to look like that.
It smells funny too.
It smells burnt. We don't have spark, and I am suspect of our coil, especially now.
As they say in the business.
Oops.
That's wrong.
Seeing that we needed an HEI coil, but there was no parts store in town, Bob and I hopped in his Monte Carlo and started poking around for someone who might be wrenching on something in the driveway and might have a coil. Unfortunately, it seemed like everyone into cars was out at the racetrack, so we headed out to the drag strip to see if we could find one there. Long story short, we could not, but we did get to see some racing. Alright, remember Bob, we're definitely here looking for an HEI coil.
Yeah, that's all we're doing. What else would we be doing?
Well, we struck out at the racetrack, but O'Reilly's had everything we needed. However, on the way here, the Monte Carlo broke again. The reverse linkage fell off of his transmission. All right, let's get that fixed. How's she going, Bob?
It's going.
Throw a new cotter pin in there and hit the road and go fix the C10.
You don't really need reverse anyways, it's fine.
I've proven that, yeah, you can. It sucks, but you'll be okay. All right, do we go backwards? Oh. Yeah, I'd say it works.
It's in.
All right, back to the C10. Well, now what? It's been 4 blocks.
Well, first and second.
Oh, there we go. No, 3, 4 though. Did you think another one fell out already?
They were just fine.
What do you see, Bob?
Oh, it fell off from the other side.
Just everything's falling off for some reason.
I just put this together. It was good.
I don't know who's broke down more at this point.
You?
You're quickly catching up right now.
I am.
All right, new pin in there. The bushings are all missing, but hey, it drives.
Yeah, we should have third and fourth, maybe.
We'll find out.
Oh, that's third.
Hey! All right, let's go find the C10 and fix that. We got ourselves a new HEI coil from O'Reilly's. Getting that screwed in here should fix all of our problems. Talking to Ted, sounds like they just kind of had a bad batch at one point in time, potentially. Can't really test for 100 miles of use, unfortunately, so it's just kind of one of them things that happens. I believe Dalton had the same thing occur, and he put a different coil in, and it's been perfect ever since. These are really good distributors. I'm still going to run the hell out of them. Yay! All right, let's get back on the road. At this point, it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we still hadn't even left Iowa. We'd only driven 2 hours, and we'd been on the road the entire day. We were determined to at least make it across one borderline, so we gassed up and hit the road once again, eastbound and down. We have finally left Iowa. It's taken 2 days. We're in Missouri. Let's keep it going all the way to St. Louis. Look at that, Bookers. 400 miles to go.
Yeah.
Yay! As with all road trips, one of the largest challenges is keeping Mook entertained, but I find a way.
Ow! Look how speedy! Hi, Mom. That guy's really good at blowing bubbles.
Must have been double bubble.
Maybe. Bubble bubble.
Bubble bubble. I said we weren't stopping until we hit E, and the needle is on E. Hannibal, Missouri. Let's fill them up and keep going. Running good, finally. All right, it's all filled up. We're getting 10.3 miles per gallon.
Pathetic.
What? What are you getting with your new QP gears in the back?
16 and a half.
Jesus, in the truck. What's that thing doing down the highway?
2200 at 70.
Oh my God, this is doing like 27 because of that torque converter.
Anything above 70, I'm in the timing, so it loves that.
I'm getting 16.
That's pretty good. I am the gas hog this time. Let's do it again.
All right.
The same route.
Yeah, just straight back. Yeah.
Oh,
Run it down to E.
can I go pee first?
Yeah, I got P too.
Okay.
Fine, I'll allow it.
Thank you.
After the P break, we put the hammer down once again, gunning for St. Louis, Missouri. Eventually, as the sun set, we entered the outskirts of the city of St. Louis. Soon enough, the Great Arch was on our left, and the next thing we knew, we were slamming into potholes in Illinois. A few hours later, we were all pretty tired, losing our minds, and decided to find a hotel and call it a night.
What? Who said that?
Who did say that? That was probably weird. All right, everyone, welcome to Comfort Shits, Mount Vernon, Illinois, not Indiana. Ready for some sleep?
Yeah.
Me too. Let's do the ritual. Lock, ignition. Ignition's locked. Lock, door, and slam. Got it.
Do you need your booster pack to sleep?
I'm good. You need a fart?
Got it. You're all right.
All right, comfort shits.
All right, see you guys in the morning. That's an amazing shirt.
My mom got me this shirt, and I know that for a fact.
Good morning, Mook.
Morning.
How are you?
Good.
You ready for power tour?
Yeah.
Day one. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. Be good to us. Oh.
Ignition.
Ignition. I did the thing. Look how effective that is, even against myself. Unlock. All right, first stop, Walmart. Angus only has one sock, which is questionable. After a quick crusade for more socks, we hit the road once again and finished out the 200 miles to Bowling Green. Oh yeah, it's starting to feel like power tour now. All right, step one, we need to get our credentials. Step two, get some water and ice for the cooler. Step three, work our way into the venue. Let's do it. Ah, yes. The line to get in. This is what you build your cooling systems for. Hey, look who it is. This is the test of Hot Rod Power Tour. Holy shit, look at that line. Driving down the highway is one thing, but driving down the highway and then sitting in traffic for a long, long time is another thing. We are not doing that. Okay, we're gonna get creative when the time comes. We're finding a different way into this venue. Now, I should state what you're seeing here is not normal. This is the longest line I've ever seen. From the looks of it, everyone kind of arrived at the same time, and Beach Bend is not great at handling high capacities. This is, however, the perfect time to give you 3 lessons from the Junkyard Digs School of Surviving Hot Rod Power Tour Traffic. Alright, let's start things off with something pretty simple. Rule number 1, keep her moving. There are going to be a ton of instances on the route where you come across traffic that is at a standstill or a slow crawl. This is exactly why we stress fan shrouds, fan clutches, everything you can to keep that motor cool. But even then, sometimes with the best cooling system, things are still going to get hot because you are sitting still. This is going to happen a lot on the route because every small town has an unfortunate stop sign that's going to cause a big backup of traffic. Now, thankfully, with today's technology, you can whip out the old phone, see that there's some red traffic coming up, and find an alternative route around it that's usually faster, but regardless, you stay moving and keep that fresh air in the radiator and keep those temps down. If you can see a small town coming up on route, get your phone out and try to find a way through the town to get back on route after the bottleneck. Although it is worth mentioning that occasionally the locals have created a burnout spot, and that's what's causing the red line. Lesson number 2 is one of my favorites, and we call it the Michigan left. Quite often on Power Tour, you will run into a situation where everybody is turning left at a stoplight, and the left lane will become backed up for miles. Now, if you're lucky enough to be in a situation where it is a 2-lane road, all you have to do is stay in the right lane, go all the way to the red light, hang a right on red, do a U-turn, wait for the green light, and then drive straight through. The Michigan left is a fantastic trick, and if more people did it, we could get the same amount of cars through an intersection faster because we're using both sets of stoplights. Lesson 3, when it comes to entering venues, find the back door. Pretty much every single venue has more than one way to access their main entrance. A lot of guys will follow the route to a T, they'll all enter from the same direction and cause a huge pileup. But if you look at the map and loop around the other side and hit that traffic head on, you can usually drive straight in without stopping. For instance, let's take a look at the first day's venue. Beach Bend Raceway was a complete clusterheck because everyone left registration and got in a 2-mile line waiting for the same stoplight. The funny part is this stoplight wasn't even in the venue. It was in the middle of town. If you wanted to skip the line, all you had to do was drive one of the many ways through town and hit that same stoplight from either of the other 2 directions, which, as you saw, was exactly what Dylan McCool was doing, and he was in line for much less time than anyone else. Another option our map shows us is that you could have taken any of these routes and come through town and popped out all the way over here, avoiding even more traffic, or gone the long way around and popped out way over here, avoiding a ton of traffic. And last but not least, our most important lesson of all, have a beer about it. Now, I'm not saying go into the venue and get absolutely hammered. That's a terrible idea. You're driving a car. Be responsible. But what I am saying is take your time. Have patience. You're not in a rush. Power Tour is an excellent time to meet new people, make lasting friendships, and enjoy the show. A lot of people rush to the venue, complain about the traffic, get their stuff stamped, complain about the venues because it took so long to get out, and then make it to their hotel by 6 o'clock. To me, that's an absolute waste of a week. In fact, my favorite part of Power Tour is closing the venues every day. The sun's finally going down, the temps are dropping, people are hanging out, having a beer, meeting new friends, and we're probably all gathered around some unwilling car, forcing it to continue its journey to the next spot every day. I should probably also mention, if you do get to your hotel at a decent time, there's usually a parking lot party and a ton of burnouts going on. Power Tour is an absolutely awesome time. It can be a lot of work to keep an old car going, it can be hot as hell, and there can be a lot of traffic. But at the end of the day, hanging out with your friends in a parking lot, having a beer, makes everything worth it. Hey! Oh, hey! Hey, aren't you those YouTube guys?
You're famous, aren't you?
30th anniversary. I didn't know.
I can't believe it's been 30 years, and this is the first year that they've had the party here.
Yeah, I'm turning this off. Well, we got our tickets, and we are headed into the venue. This was all cars, all the way out on the road like you saw earlier. But the solution, have a beer about it, take a little time, head on in, late, but no line. And the teachers always said it never pays to be late.
You went to school?
For a little bit. Oh, check it out.
You know who I miss? I miss Goop.
You know what? I figured everyone would have left. There's a pretty good turnout still. Welcome to day one of Power Tour. We did it, Mook.
Yeah.
Let's get parked, go in, and meet some fans. All right, we're out having a beer about it, and these guys show up, and they roll up in this beautiful short bed K10, and he gently closes the door. What is the trick?
You just go to Home Depot, buy yourself some PCV pipe, cut it in half, slide it over the striker. So you got the first click, and then
What the shit? And it doesn't whistle going on the road.
No.
But these are like built like a rhombus.
yeah, at 90
They're
they
built like
whistle.
a Dodge.
Yep.
All right, we'll give it a try. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
At this point, it was well into the afternoon and the traffic was backed up something terrible, so we just hung out and made new friends. Sometimes you get those days when there's really bad venues, such as Bowling Green, where you don't get to leave even if you want to.
It's a great venue because it's a great parking lot to hang out in.
That's true. And that's exactly the solution that we come up with. Have a beer about it, hang out, meet friends, hang out with people I haven't seen in a long time. Hey, Dylan! Regardless, we're going to shut her down here. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning for the trip to somewhere.
Bye.
Goodbye. Man, you literally never know what you're going to see pull up to the pump at Hot Rod Power Tour. That is wild. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of Hot Rod Power Tour. Today we're going down to Tennessee somewhere. I don't know, just here for the ride. Believe it or not, the first stop for the day was to get fuel. The old big block's pretty thirsty. Let's go grab some Casey's breakfast pizza, hit the road, and get her going. And with that, we hit the open road, traveling across beautiful fields and through small towns full of old cars, and just enjoying our trip in general as we made our way to Lebanon. What's your favorite car you've seen so far?
Ooh, I saw some matching Novas that were really cool. And every single GTO is my favorite. And every single 78 or 94 truck is also my favorite. And Cutlasses.
And Grand Wagoneers. Basically any car you own.
Yeah.
97 Jeep Grand Cherokees, also at the top of the list.
I saw like a 98.
I don't know, 3 hours or so left to go here, so we're just gonna keep putzing along and enjoying the show.
Yeah.
Well, as far as the truck goes, it's doing fantastic. Our oil, I think we need a new oil pump because it's really jumpy. Other than that, still running good and driving smooth as hell. Rear out not working?
No. It's big bad.
Well, here's the good news about getting lost on Power Tour. You just go to the road and follow the cars, and they're lost too, and you'll all wind up on your own little adventure. Soon enough, we found ourselves driving down some beautiful Kentucky roads headed towards the Tennessee border. Look!
Rocks. Rocks.
Big rocks. Big rocks everywhere.
Now this looks like a good spot for lunch. Mook?
I already ate a bunch of earplugs.
Oh, okay.
After lunch, we continued on to the venue where we found a back road to skip all the traffic and then waited in line for the last few cars.
All right, here we are coming into day 2, Lebanon, Tennessee. And we're like, man, you know what? It's pretty hot. Mook, I think it's time we turn the AC on. Yeah, it sounds very, very unhappy for some reason.
I guess we just die now.
Yep, all that work. I'm not counting it out yet. I think we can probably get the spin or tighten the belt or something that needs done, make it work. Let's head on in, set up camp, and meet some fans, have some fun. Well, all the way in, and we're at like 175, 180. Doesn't get much better than that. We've also snuck our way into the Midway again. Hey!
Glad you made it.
With that, we set up shop to hand out stickers, sign t-shirts, and meet some awesome fans.
All right, Ike, what the hell did you just roll up on?
I think we're going to call it the Cars and Cameras micro cart. So,
is this going to be a thing, like a produced thing?
That's the plan. These are prototypes. We're kind of seeing how they do in different terrain and how people react to them.
I think they're hilarious and amazing.
just letting you know, it'll wheelie on you. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's the perfect pit bike. We could fit enough in the back of the truck to have like a circuit racing team. Yeah. In like one 8-foot bed. You absolutely have to make a race circuit about these.
Yeah. Microcross.
Oh, yes.
God.
Yes.
I've got it all planned out.
I'll race. Sign me up. That's amazing.
At the end of the day, we packed everything up and headed out to the larger parking lot to find Angus and Bob, who were doing some brake work on the Monte Carlo.
Kevin,
how's it going? How's your trip?
We made it. The car is here.
New brake calipers, you say?
Yeah, both of them. We stopped at O'Reilly's this morning and thought, well, let's check which one is frozen. Jacked up one side. It's like, oh yeah, this one's the one. Just to be safe, I'll look at the other one. Oh, look at that one. That's C's too.
What are we working on now? Thermostat?
Yep. We're gonna throw a new thermostat in this. We think it is a 185, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And we're gonna throw a 160 at it to give it a fighting chance.
Oh, look who it is!
Sounds like somebody running on 4.
Yeah, we left the other 4 back in Wisconsin.
Well, if it isn't the BS guys.
Build season. Yep.
Build season on YouTube. The classics. And their Datsun. Closet Buick guys, by the way.
We are, well, that's, right?
Yep. Zach, what is that shirt?
So this is a Salvation Army find. So it says I heart Spanish. I don't speak any Spanish, but I
being from Michigan, you're not bilingual.
No,
weird.
Not even kind of. I'm singlingual. So yeah.
Well,
monolingual.
You apparently speak bits of language I don't.
Oh,
I love Spanish. Cerveza's my favorite.
All right, Bob's all fixed up. Let's get us good to go. Tighten up the AC so if we need it tomorrow, it's not screaming, and hopefully it works. I believe, from looking at it while we were sitting in the venue there, our belt was just really loose. You can see all the dust on the clutch here. So let's get this going and I'll give her a test. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Turns out you drive 1,000 miles, the belt might stretch a little bit. Weird, right, Mook?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of Hot Rod Power Tour. Today you join us somewhere and we're going somewhere else. Today's crew includes Angus, our Michigan friends, and the build season boys. Got a northern group today, so let's fire these up and hit the road. 3.5 hours on the route once again. Luke, I'm gonna go on a limb and say we're on route.
Maybe.
Maybe a little bit of traffic today, but there's a lot of cool cars, so we'll take it.
There's a porch down there.
Oh, damn.
Didn't know what that was. I'm glad they labeled it.
Today's the day, Mook. It's hot enough that we're turning on the AC. Got the belt tightened last night. Seriously working right now. It's blowing chilly. It's working fantastic. We got her turned down right now, and we are nice and chilly in here.
Hi, Mom.
You and me go fishing in the dark. We don't know the rest of the words. Oh, okay.
You trying to catch me singing?
Yeah.
But he can buy me a boat. He can buy me a truck. He can buy me a
Fishmaster glasses like he's wearing.
For the rest of the day, we continued on through the beautiful Tennessee countryside as our odometer rolled over 1,000 miles since we'd left Iowa.
Well, stop waiting for some traffic here. With the AC on, we're a little stumbly down low. We need a little more RPM. So I'm going to go into our distributor, change our idle speed to 950 and hit generate table. There we go. Another 100 RPM at idle. Alright, it's not stumbling anymore. Away we go.
Eventually, after winding our way through Bourbon County, we made it all the way to Louisville and into the venue.
Alright, we have landed. By the way, if you guys are ever trying to find us on Power Tour, we're always super late, like 2 or 3 p.m. Today, we're on the Muletown Dyno, which means we get to listen to that magical noise all day while handing out shirts and meeting fans. Alright, let's do just that. Time to put the camera away and do some real work.
After meeting a bunch of fans, we finally put the Power Tour sticker on the truck and then enjoyed a nice slow night in the parking lot with our buddies before hitting the burnout pad on the way to supper.
Look, it's the Ohio River.
What? Where are we?
The Ohio River.
Oh, okay.
The next morning, our groups got a little split up, so us and the guys from Michigan hopped in the square bodies and headed towards Hebron, Ohio on some beautiful back roads.
Zach broke down. What? Negative ground fell off.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we can just crimp that back on.
Yeah,
We're good to
yeah.
go.
I mean, it'll be fine.
Nothing matters. It's Power Tour. We can fix it all.
Exactly.
Be a damn shame to have all those electrical connections in a car. Fuel injected battery.
Yeah. True. Exactly.
Meanwhile,
yeah. You're like, meanwhile, this just runs and runs and runs.
how's it going, Mook?
Good.
It's okay. You're not in the cities anymore. That was just a pothole. Where are we at? Stink of cheese.
I don't even know. Pretty sure we're in Ohio.
Okay, we'll go with that. Welcome to Ohio.
Question mark?
Need to crimp a new one on?
Yeah. Oh. You think that'll get her done?
It might.
Well, instead of me putting this one on, we'll reuse the original one. Look at that! Look at that!
Good as new.
All right, let's see if I've got. Okay, that's actually not bad. But now I'll get the hammer and I'll smash the course.
Well, here.
Yeah.
Hammer, so.
Oh, perfect. There you go. Go for it.
The big pliers prevails.
Honestly, good as new.
Back on the road. Welcome to Ohio, Mook. We must have been in whatever not Ohio was.
I think Kentucky.
I think you're right. Onward to
Texas!
On the way to the venue, we saw a ton of familiar faces while rolling down the highway. We saw Ben, a good buddy of mine who's a wizard with transmissions, Brian McTaggart from Bank Shift, and even a guy we met last year who was having some EFI troubles on the side of the road. After a little cleaning and rewiring on the battery terminals, he was good to go and we carried on into the venue.
another one back on the road. Those EFI systems are really, really finicky when it comes to grounds and positive, and their battery terminal is just a little bit loose. Thankfully, Zach got an extra screw in the toolbox, threw that in the terminal. They're good to go. Let's finish out the drive for day 4 and head into the event center in Hebron, Ohio.
A half hour later, we had landed at the venue. Now, usually day 3 is where stuff starts to break because it's had 3 or 4 days of heat cycling and it's getting a little worn out. For us, our upper radiator hose developed a pinhole, so I had to chop an inch off. But in comparison to the build season, guys, that was nothing. Steve, what happened today?
Well, the engine tried to fall out of the car.
But did you
It was
die?
the most terrifying driving experience of my life. On dry pavement, it felt like I was on ice. I could not steer left or right, and it would randomly shoot me one lane or the next, and I was trying desperately to stay out of anybody's door, right? So what happened was the cross member that holds the engine and transmission in the car is bolted to the subframe with 2 bolts on that side and 2 bolts on this side.
Yep.
And then that cross member also acts as the pivot point for the lower control arm, which is integral to this suspension setup.
Yep.
This side of the cross member, the bolts backed all the way out and let loose on the highway. When you would accelerate and the car would get up on power, it would move like this and it would pull the camber in.
Yeah, I bet it would.
This tire, and it would seem okay for a second, and then as soon as you let off the gas, the engine would lay over and it would shove the wheel out way far, camber it way out, and suddenly the weight would shift and it would pull you into the left lane like you were steering into somebody's door. I've never been more scared in my life driving a car. A little bit of advice. If you're gonna make engine mounts, don't do what I did and use really hard polyurethane.
Rattles everything loose?
Everything. Absolutely everything rattles loose. Right after that happened, we noticed an exhaust leak that got worse really fast. The 4 bolts that hold the turbo to the manifold all decided to back out. And of course this thing was 1,000,000 degrees.
This thing's just shaking itself apart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh,
But
fun.
every stop now, we check every bolt, we check the clutch fluid reservoir.
Here you go, Austin. This is why you don't leave me with your keys. I carry spare signs. Bob, you want to go for a test ride?
Yeah,
What do you think?
this is the only Cyclone I can afford. It just costs beer.
Yeah, it's real cheap. Very affordable. You want the good news or the bad news? Someone left a down payment for it. There's a single PBR, and it's from the guys from Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, yeah. No.
They said that would work.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
Oh, listen to that quadrijet sing.
Boy, it sounds like 240 though.
Does it ever? 170 horsepower, 330 foot-pounds. What a beaut. Austin, what the hell are you holding?
Brought to you by Hidden Valley Ranch.
That's how Midwesterners stay cool on a hot day.
That is true.
Welcome to Michigan, Ohio area-ish.
That evening, a few people in the group had some stuff to fix, and Austin was courteous enough to offer his shop for us to do just that. We hopped on the highway and shot some beautiful rollers as we headed west. Alright, here we are, stopped for the night post venue at the Lucor Automotive Services. This would be Lucor Racing on YouTube, Austin, with the Cyclone, the one I tried to sell for a case of beer earlier. He has provided his shop for the night for services, and we're going to use it to fix Bob's throwout bearing, which is going bad. And the Rust Farms 5th gear. Yeah, it's fine.
Hi. Do you think our Capri is here somewhere?
No, it's in the storage unit. I asked earlier.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
Yeah, just heck everything else, right?
We're leaving.
Well, there's pizza, Mook.
Okay, fine.
This is like my car.
Dude, this Cutlass is pretty sick.
Except for mine has 18s and C6 brakes and turbo and blah, 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 blah.
You have a turbo one of these?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, it must like evaporate when you floor it. Just the body peels off and you just become a spaceman.
It does blow the tires away in first, second, third.
What'd you find?
It's a Toyota Cressida wagon, or Corona wagon. Look at the fender mirrors on this guy here, huh? You can't see shit through this, no matter what.
All right, Bob, what are we here for?
I need to pull my transmission.
Man, has there been a single day you haven't turned wrenches on this? When you bought it. I think you're winning, by the way, for most breakdowns. My radiator hose did spring a pin leak, so I had to cut the first inch off of it today.
That's a lot.
Also, the AC belt wore out and it slips now, so a real tragedy. I don't know if I'll survive. I could die at any minute.
You could. I'll kill you.
Fair. Oh, another one on the lift. What are we doing over here? I'm gonna go.
Dodge.
Let me guess, transmission.
Ooh, you're scaring him.
Steve, what'd you do?
Lost fifth gear.
Let me guess. The nut on the back sheared off, and we're gonna weld it.
Yep.
All right.
This is the 8th time it's happened to me.
Well, if you go to anyone's shop, you gotta stick a sticker on it.
And the best part is he can't reach it.
Right about then, the pizza arrived, so we went in to get some food. Before I even realized it, the Bobs were pulling their transmission out and replacing the throwout bearing, and Steve already had dropped the transfer case. Squeaky, squeaky, Spinny McGee, number 3.
Grab a number 3.
1. I don't know. You've had a couple squeaky Spinny McGees in here.
Here, spin that one. Yep. Here,
Nope.
and then
Ooh, yeah, that's not what you want.
I got a new one with the bell housing kit that I got, but that one seemed worse than this one.
But it's not as new as this one.
No,
So
that one looks much better. It's from Jegs instead of China.
in she goes. Drive shaft back in already. That was quick.
What? You only have one transmission in there?
Really? Since when?
There's the problem. Yeah. Well, thanks, Steve. It was
There's our culprit.
exactly what you anticipated.
The gear looks mint still, so that's a relief.
At least it's not torn up.
Yeah,
It
that
made
thing
a pretty good bang when it come out. I was under load pulling a hill. Bang! Bang! Shook the whole truck.
Yeah, I thought we blew a tire.
That's not what you want to hear.
This is it. We're dead.
Yeah.
Now you just weld some stuff to other things and
just-
drive to Alberta.
Yep.
Easy peasy. Look at that. It's not really obvious. This is the shit I love about Hot Rod Power Tour. The drives are fantastic. Meeting the fans are amazing. Getting to see unique builds and all that are great. But the camaraderie and just unwillingness to give up and force these old cars to continue from stop to stop each day to complete this challenge of taking old stuff and driving it across the country in these 10 p.m. shop or parking lot nights, that is the core spirit of Hot Rod Power Tour. Never give up, never surrender, fix shit, and drive the hell out of it. 9 times now. 9 times I've been to Power Tour, 6 long hauls, and they just keep getting better.
Well, the Canadians welded 5th gear back onto their NV4500, the Bobs finished up the Monte Carlo, and we decided to call it a night. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Another day on Hot Rod Power Tour, another Hawaiian shirt, and another day that we're going to sweat a bunch. But today is the last day, unfortunately. Today is day 5 of 5 of Hot Rod Power Tour. We are going from Columbus, Ohio to Indianapolis, Indiana. We got the Michigan boys and the guys from Build Season with us today. We are up bright and early. We got the hammer down and we are on the road. Let's get it going one last time.
What are you doing?
Morning, Mom.
No.
With that, we put the hammer down and headed for Indiana. And after crossing over, at some point we caught Austin jamming out in the MR2.
Busted. We got him.
About halfway to the venue, we ran into Dylan, who offered to trade us snacks. It's always bittersweet on the last day of Power Tour. You're excited to be at the venue, but you're also tired and ready to go home. However, you know that drive home is going to be much more boring than the drive from venue to venue because all of the old cars around you are going to vanish into thin air, and it's going to be you and normal traffic for 800 miles. Power Tour seems like a lot at the beginning, but it's over before you know it, so take your time and enjoy the drives. Enjoy all the sights and the things on the side of the road, all the cool cars rolling past you, and all the good times that are there to be had. Alright, here we are, the last venue. One last time, let's go get the C10 parked up, meet some fans, sell some shirts, have a beer about it, and say goodbye to all of our friends at the end of Hot Rod Power Tour. Look at that. They did it. They about died 100 times.
Right. All for this tin plaque.
Man. Worth
roughly 1,700 miles so far.
Damn, that's
And
pretty good.
Another 500 or so to go.
Well, gentlemen, it's been great to meet you.
Absolutely,
Yes.
man. Appreciate it.
You guys
Let
have
me
a
know
safe
if you
trip.
ever come across any 70 Skylarks, Kevin.
Yeah, same.
Okay, deal. If I find a 2 for 1
Yeah.
deal, I'll let you know.
If I find more than I need, I'll call you. Thank you much. There she is, Mook, all stamped. There. Number 6 for the wall, I think.
Yeah, 03.
Their 3rd anniversary. With everything stamped and our plaques in hands, we sat down for a rest, proud to call ourselves long haulers. Eventually, we left the venue and went out for supper one last time before saying our goodbyes and splitting ways. We hopped in the C10, fired it up, pointed it to central Iowa, and put the pedal down. This old northern truck did absolutely fantastic on Power Tour. This is the first time I've ever taken a truck on Power Tour, and honestly, it was pretty good. We could haul everything we wanted, tow other people if need be, and most importantly, since there was a window right behind my head, it had more airflow in the cab than any A-body GM I've ever taken. After 500 miles of driving across state lines and cornfields, we eventually rolled back into Iowa and made it all the way home with absolutely no issues whatsoever. However, there was still one thing I had to know. Would this truck do a burnout?
It just will not.
The Hydro Boost is just too damn strong. That is the first time I've ever tried that without blowing up the rear end though, so props to Quick Performance. What, you think I was just gonna leave you with that? Now that is what we bought a Posi for. Thank you guys very much for joining us on this episode. Huge thanks to Quick Performance, AMD, Regression Edition, everyone that was a part of this build. Thanks to all the fans that we got to meet on Power Tour. I hope you all made it home safely, and we'll see you again next year. Best way to support the channel is to check out the merch on junkyarddigs.com, which, by the way, there is only one official website. We'll see you guys right here next week for another episode. Peace.